Toyota has changed the BZ4X. It's now calling it the 4X. There's a new version. It looks different. It looks a lot less like an SUV or a crossover. There's less plastic cladding. And Toyota is now saying that their batteries are superior to everyone else. They won't tell us why or how, but they say that they are superior. Trust us, they're better. One thing is true. Toyota have said their new electric car, or the new BZ4X, has better battery life. It'll get more range. Now, that remains to be seen in the real world, but that's what Toyota is saying. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching The Electric Viking. Hope you had an amazing 2023. 2024 is about to hit us in the face. Toyota is saying, you know what, 2024, we're going to bring out some EVs. They're going to be amazing. We're going to blow the competition out of the water. And really, there's some serious hyperbole coming here from Toyota. I'll give you an idea of what they're saying about the upgraded BZ4X. Well, first of all, they're saying, even though their batteries are extremely advanced, they're more advanced than everyone else, you should not regularly DC fast charge your battery pack. So Toyota is making that clear. Don't do that, or it could result in problems with your battery. They say keep DC fast charging to a minimum. Personally, that doesn't really inspire me with all that much confidence, but that's just me. Let me know if you agree or not. Now, Toyota say this new battery, or this upgraded battery pack in the new BZ4X, will offer lower power consumption designed to extend real-world driving range. This is done by enhancements to the battery pack, which lower power consumption and in turn improve real-world range. Now, apparently there's some connection to the climate temperature controls in the car. Somehow Toyota are utilizing those to get more range. Does that mean it has a heat pump? I don't know. Toyota doesn't really want to explain to us what the differences they've actually made in terms of mechanical differences. Now, it is worth mentioning that the BZ4X, or the 4X as it's going to be called apparently now, it has what's quite a heavy car. It's approximately 10 to 20% heavier than a Tesla Model Y, which is a bigger vehicle. The Tesla Model Y is 5 to 10% bigger than the BZ4X. So whilst it's bigger, it's quite a bit lighter than the BZ4X. And that's probably one of the reasons why there's been so much controversy around the BZ4X getting a lot less range than claimed. In range tests in Europe, it's gotten about 50% less range than it should have. And Toyota is saying that they've now fixed some of those issues. But personally, I believe if you actually look deeper at the data, you can see that Toyota have done one big change here. They've actually reduced the battery buffer. So all batteries in all EVs have a battery buffer. For example, if the battery pack size is an 80 kilowatt hour size battery, if it's an 80 kilowatt size battery, then what that means is that you'll have a buffer, and you'll only be able to use, say, maybe 76 kilowatts of that 80 kilowatt hour battery, meaning there's a buffer of 4 kilowatt hours. So Toyota have apparently reduced that buffer. That buffer is a bit of a safety feature. You know, it's designed to make the battery pack actually last longer. So whether or not that could be an issue, and whether or not Toyota are now saying, well, we've made the buffer shorter, so therefore don't do as much DC fast charging, otherwise you could have issues. I don't know if there's any correlation there. Now, how do we know there's a new BZ4X? Well, Toyota have actually revealed this new version in China. And like I said, it's now called the 4X. It's priced in China from $25,000 for the cheapest version to $33,500 US for the most expensive version. So it's quite a bit cheaper than what it costs in America, for example. So how much does that equate to in Australian dollars? Because we don't have the BZ4X yet, or the 4X. We're said to get it in approximately January or February in Australia. In fact, Toyota don't sell any EVs in Australia at all right now. But anyway, they will soon, apparently. That equates to 37,000 Australian dollars. So the base model costs 37,000 Australian dollars, or 25,000 US dollars in China. It's said to cost $80,000 in Australia. 80,000. In other words, it will be more than twice the price. It seems like a pretty big markup, in my opinion. I think Toyota Australia here are ripping off consumers. I mean, doubling the price is excessive. That's what I think, anyway. Let me know if you agree with that. Anyhow, getting back to the features. What is the upgraded version? How is it any different? Well, first of all, it has new range. The size, though, is the same. It's still 4,690 millimeters long, 1,860 millimeters wide, and 1,650 millimeters tall. Wheelbase, 2,850 millimeters. Now, the boot size is relatively small. It's really not that big of a vehicle. It's slightly bigger than for example, a BYD Atto 3. You're probably looking at about a 10% size difference to an Atto 3, about 10% bigger. But yeah, realistically, are you willing to pay an extra $30,000 for a 10% increase in size? I wouldn't personally. Now, in terms of the look, apparently the new 4X will have a black roof, blackened A, B, and C pillars. I'm not really into the black thing, to be honest. A charging port in the right front fender, and blackened exterior mirrors. So the entire version of this vehicle in China, and I believe also the Australian version and other countries, get a 66.7 kilowatt hour usable ternary lithium battery pack. It can fast charge from 30 to 80% in 30 minutes, but charging speed is really not that quick. In fact, it's only rated about 150 kilowatt, depending on the model. The cheapest model is front wheel drive. It has 150 kilowatts, so around about 190, about 200 horsepower front wheel driven motor with 266.3 newton meters of torque. 0.3, I've never heard that before, but 266 newton meters of torque. It seems particularly underpowered in my opinion, and that's what journalists have said as well. Top speed is 160 kilometers an hour, so just about 100 miles an hour. It can do 3.8 seconds from 0 to 50 kilometers an hour. Why they're quoting that time, I don't know, but probably the reason is because it's relatively slow. It does 0 to 100 or 0 to 62 miles an hour in about 9 seconds in the real world. Range, though, is said to be boosted now with this new version to 615 kilometers, or about 350 miles. Will it get that in the real world? Well, no, that's CLTC range. WLTP, probably looking at about 580 kilometers, which would mean that in theory, it should have about 90 kilometers more range than the upgraded version of the Tesla Model Y, which will come out in Australia in probably January or February. That's a lot more range than an equivalent Tesla Model Y. Now, I've got to point out, of course, this is more expensive than a Tesla Model Y. It has less equipment, it has less power, but it's said to have more range. That's what Toyota say. Anyway, we'll see if that actually plays out in the real world. The four-wheel drive version has two 80 kilowatt motors, so two about 90 horsepower motors. The four-wheel drive version has two 80 kilowatt motors, so that's two approximately 110 horsepower motors for a total power system output of 160 kilowatt, and it has around about 320 newton meters of torque. Now, the version with two motors has, of course, a fair bit less range, 560 kilometers on the CLTC cycle, so WLTP is probably approximately 520 kilometers. Still quite a bit of range. Can it get this kind of range with a battery pack of this size? So a 67 kilowatt hour ternary lithium battery pack? I would say probably not. Considering it's quite a heavy vehicle, it's not a big battery. I think these range estimates are extremely exaggerated, but I could be wrong. Let's wait and see. Inside, the vehicle has, well, some minimal upgrades. Apparently the software is slightly improved. Other than that, the interior does look pretty grey and sort of plasticky in my opinion. I don't think it looks like an $80,000 car. In fact, it just doesn't in terms of the interior. However, the cockpit is designed based on the Toyota Space concept with a 7-inch instrument panel and a 12.3-inch central control screen. It's got a 3-spoke, oval-shaped, multi-function steering wheel and lots of physical buttons. So if you like physical buttons, you probably don't want to buy a Tesla, then you might want to buy one of these instead. Although I wouldn't buy this personally. I mean, if you really need physical buttons, there's other EVs with buttons that are better than this is. Then this is, I think, for the money. The interior comes in 3 color combinations, in China that is, black, grey, and red. You're not likely to get red outside of China though. I think that's probably more of a Chinese special. What other features do these vehicles come with? Well, the new Toyota 4X comes standard with 8 airbags, level 2 T-Pilot advanced driving assistance system. Not sure yet if that'll come on overseas models, Apple CarPlay, and rear air conditioning. High-end models have facial recognition, not sure if you want that or not, steering wheel heating, wireless charging, front seat heating and ventilation, and 9 JBL speakers for the audio system. In my opinion, the most interesting thing about all of this that Toyota's actually exposed is, well, it looks a bit different, but other than that, the wireless charging. Hopefully, Australian spec models and overseas European and American models actually get the wireless charging feature. I think that's a pretty cool feature. And it could kind of future-proof the car to some degree, because there's new wireless charging roads being built in different countries, and in fact, numerous countries around the world. That could be something that takes off. I'm not sure. Guys, let me know what you think of the name change. Is the Toyota 4X, does that sound better than the BZ4X? I think that's probably a significant improvement. Should you buy one of these cars? Well, I would have to say absolutely not. There's better alternatives across every single, to be honest, pretty much everything else is a better alternative. But anyhow, let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching.